Welcome to It's a Crime. I'm Linda, and today we're going to talk more about Letecia Stauch. The silence from law enforcement must be too much to bear because Tecia's talking yet again. Only this time, I think she had a little help. Before I get into it, click the subscribe button, click that notification bell so that you can be notified of my next upcoming videos. There's a lot of them coming your way. Don't forget to click the like button and please click the share button. With that being said, let's get into it. In an exclusive statement from Fox 31 News, Letecia offers this statement for herself. Now, Fox 31 and Channel 2's Nicole Fierro is the only reporter to speak to Letecia in the last 10 days, and they spoke exclusively on Tuesday night. And in this news report, the reporter says that Letecia felt that her safety was at risk. So she said she wanted her to read the statement and she wanted to address several things in this case. And the reporter also noted that she's asking the sheriff's office to take down some pages on social media. I'm sure she's not asking to take down the Support Letecia group though, which, by the way, I was told that what was seen in that group was to take down the blue lights and add pink lights to support Letecia. I'm not in the group. Okay, so what I'm going to do is read through some of the statement and then give you some of my thoughts on it. You are welcome to comment below and so we can have a chit chat. Sound good? Okay, here's the first paragraph. First and foremost, I would like to thank all agencies, volunteers, and community members who are working diligently and praying endlessly to bring Gannon home safe. Thank you to my husband who has stayed strong through this and protected our family to the best of his ability, and our immediate and extended family members throughout the East Coast. To Gannon, please come home soon because your daddy is waiting to watch the new Sonic movie that comes out this week, and the cool shirt I got you to wear to the theater is in your closet. So that's the first paragraph. Now, I do want you to remember throughout this does not sound like her typical statements. Not her interview, not her Gannon clip video, not her posts on social media for sure. This sounds like she had a little help. I say that personally because from what I've read out loud, this does not sound the same. It does in some sense, but it sounds like it's been edited and, helped. And I'm betting that this paragraph was actually added once she finished her entire statement. Why? Because the rest of it is her defending herself, which is her MO, right? So in this paragraph, she addresses gratitude. She's grateful for people helping. She's grateful to her husband. She's grateful for Gannon and, please come home. These are the three things she missed to address really in her social media posts. Not 1 ounce of gratitude in her other ones, except for this one. So this is an important statement to her. This entire statement is super important. I'll continue on. Social media has been devastating from the harsh comments, speculations, threats, cyberbullying, etc. It has been a challenge when people are trying to run you off the road, waiting outside your hotel, threatening to kill you, etc. I encourage the sheriff's office to take down these pages that promote negative behavior and violence. Let's do what Gannon would do. Be kind to one another. Notice not one of these words says keyboard warriors or internet detectives or web sleuths. Like she said that in her interview before. She said that also in her social media post. And now she's tightened it up or cleaned it up a little bit in how she describes that. And she is part of many crime groups and neighborhood pages, from my understanding. And she's had enough time to read through all her different groups that she is part of, and now she's mentioning Gannon, and this is a pattern that I see throughout, but I'll recap that at the end. So she's changing her language a little bit from what she's normally doing. This is why I think, again, in the second paragraph, it's starting to clean up a little bit. Now she says, we all have engaged in something crazy online at some point, but Gannon would want everyone to get along and to focus on finding him. So in this statement, This is the first time ever she's actually focused on Gannon in 16 days that he's been missing. This is her defending herself and her behavior, in my opinion, as shown in the screenshots. And when she's saying at some point, I believe she's saying it because she's saying everybody's engaged in crazy online stuff at some point, meaning, yeah, last week she's been engaging in some crazy stuff. But now we need to focus on Gannon, right? We haven't focused in Gannon in 16 days, but now let's focus on Gannon and what he would want. Again, Gannon. So there's Gannon's name popping up again. She says, I know that many people have kids and are invested in this because it hits close to home for them. I would like to think that overall most people are genuine and want to do everything in their power to find G. With that being said, please take a step back for a moment and let me explain to you a few details that were not released. For example, like the video that was leaked. And there are additional details that were hidden due to 1, the department doing its job, 2, the effects of social media and how some individuals would criticize or hinder the investigation. I chose to listen. I didn't leak videos or information. But at this time, it's getting later in the process and we just want Gannon home. I feel the need to fill in some gaps. Now let me stress this. Police have known this since the first interview. So in the beginning line, she talks about how many people have kids and are invested in this because it hits close to home. What she's doing is she's bringing in the community aspect to acknowledge them, right? I understand how you're feeling. And then she wants them to hear her out. So she's like, I understand you. I understand where you're coming from. But then she follows it with a giant but, because she says, with that being said, in fact, in the article it said, with that being sad, not said. So I don't know if that's actually what Tecia said or if there was a typo from their part. That would be interesting to know. So she says, with that being said, please let's take a step back for a moment and let me explain to you a few details, right? But she doesn't make sense where she says, just like the video was leaked, there are additional details that were hidden. Well, the video was leaked, and now she's talking about hidden, right? I chose to listen. So she's saying, she's putting herself on a pedestal here. Unlike any of you guys, I chose to listen and obey. And she's saying she didn't leak information. However, oh, you didn't? How about here? 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 Oh, are you only talking about the one piece of information that hasn't been leaked? Now here's Gannon again. She talks about him and uses his name. Every paragraph so far, folks. Every paragraph. Now, since she has you hearing her, right? She says, but hear me out. She wants to make her point known that police has known this since her first interview. Very first interview, they know. But then I looked at this paragraph and I sat for quite some time and I thought there's a lot of fluff in here. Let's just strip it down, right? So I stripped it down to really see what she's trying to say because it seems like she's saying something and nothing all at the same time. Would you agree? So here's what I got out of it. Let me explain the video that was leaked. There are additional details that were hidden. I chose to listen, but it's getting later in the process. I feel the need to fill in some gaps. And that's where the truth lies. Strip away the fluff, get to the meat and potatoes, with a little cherry on top. Next paragraph. Saturday night, G was helping me unload in the garage and cut his foot because there are a lot of tools because Albert does woodworking. So there's her talking about Gannon again, G. So Saturday night they were unloading the garage and he cut his foot because there's tools in the garage. My question is, how bad did he cut his foot? Because she talks about him cutting it, right? Are there tools lying around in the ground? And I'm not sure, maybe you guys can talk about this for any of you in the army out there. I know your barracks have to be pretty tip-top shape, so I don't know if whoever's in the army actually carries that through at home. Like, are they pretty neat and tidy? I'd be curious to know. I want to know with their tools lying all over the ground, right? Because kids cut their feet. Kids get cut all the time. They fall, they scrape themselves, right? But everything in all these paragraphs have a purpose, and I will round that up at the end. She is talking about Saturday night and why there's blood. And in one of the Facebook's groups, I saw a string of comments from a woman who was very angry at Tecia, and she was talking about how law enforcement saw blood and found blood at her home. And Tecia saw this, and her sister, I believe it was her sister in the group that was talking back to this woman. So boom, let's address the blood, because the people were starting to talk about the blood, so let's get this addressed. Okay, next paragraph. He sat on the edge of the car and we bandaged it up. He was good to go. He always loves helping his dad in the garage building things like his Lego tables and the flower pot they built for me as a gift. After this, I noticed G kept going to the side of the house. All right, so he sat on the edge of the car and we bandaged it up. So was it the car or was it the truck? Because it'd be easier to sit on the truck than I would think the edge of the car. Unless she was just talking about like on the side of the car. But you have to lift your foot up, right? He was good to go. She bandaged it up. He was good to go. Okay, so probably not that serious, right? Probably not that serious from the sounds of it. He always loves helping his dad in the garage build things like his Lego tables and the flower pot they built me for a gift. So he always loves helping his dad in the garage. Notice there's no past tense in here. She gets to edit it. But always loves, he always loves to help his dad, or he loves to help his dad. Then she talks about the flower pot. The flower pot they build me as a gift. So she's showing that Gannon loves her. And it doesn't show that Gannon doesn't love her. He loves her. And he very well could love her. He's known her for years. But she does say his name yet again with a G. After this, she says, I noticed G kept going to the side of the house. After what? After getting cut? If it's not a big deal, just bandage it and he's good to go. After what? After this happened? So if this was no big deal, then why is she bringing it up on Saturday night? Why is she bringing up Saturday night that he cut himself if it was no big deal? I just gave him a bandage and he's good to go. Because somebody mentioned about blood and she needs to back herself up and defend herself. Next paragraph. He told me he was checking to see if the gate was locked because he was the only one with a gate key. It made him proud to be the man of the house while Albert was away. Fast forward, we did a hike on Sunday, in brackets she says cleared, and shopping on Monday. Brackets again, cleared as well for getting him out of the other side. Brackets. Please don't think for a second that there isn't enough of technology to determine shadows and movement around the truck. There was also proof from my phone that we had taken a selfie in the truck in our driveway that was time-stamped. We always send pictures to Albert when we are out and about or when he is away. That can be scanned for actual time verification. Last, from day one, the sheriff's office has known a description of the person friend whom Gannon left with. Okay, let's go back to this. He told me he was checking to see if the gate was locked because he was the only one with the gate key. When did Gannon get the gate key? Was this the first time Gannon had the gate key? Because now he's all proud that he gets to be the man of the house? I'd love to ask Al that. I'd love to know if Al even knows about that. Then she talks about, fast forward, we did a hike on Sunday, cleared, and shopping on Monday, cleared, as well for him getting out of the other side. So she was talking about, let's fast forward to Sunday, we did a hike on Sunday, and that was cleared. Cleared because she is proven that she was there, cleared by the cops, cleared by who? And shopping on Monday. But what about the appointment on Monday? No mention that there was a doctor's appointment or stomachache on this. Only that she was cleared on Sunday and she was cleared on Monday to go shopping, which we know was the Petco. Then she talks about, please don't think for a second that there isn't enough technology to determine shadows and movement around the truck. She's referring to people who have all the videos of the driveway talking about there's shadows, there's movement, could there be another person, all these things. This is what they're talking about, right? So she's addressing another thing that she sees in the crime groups, right? Or YouTube. She talks about, don't think for a second that there isn't technology to determine if there's shadows or not. So now she goes in the defense. There's proof on my phone that there's a selfie and it's timestamped. But she didn't say, was the selfie taken before they left or was the selfie taken when they got back home? It could be a selfie, of course, because there is a delay when she gets out of the vehicle, but there's also a delay from leaving. So it took like 4 minutes from the time the truck started moving, backing up, getting into the driveway, getting Gannon in there, and then leaving. It was about 4 minutes. And there has been some gaps. It was like 15 seconds one time, I believe, and then another was 40 seconds. So that could very well happen. But I'm curious, who got the selfie? She says she does it for Albert while he's away or when they're out and about. So I wonder if he actually got the selfie at that time. She's pleading her case that Gannon must have come home. This is where it gets interesting too. She says, last, from day one, the sheriff's office has known a description of the person friend whom Gannon left with. Well, I thought Tecia didn't know who he left with, as proven in this text. So how did they know a description of the person Gannon left with? And why wasn't there be on the lookout put out, right? Why wasn't there a bolo? Because she's saying here, the sheriff's office has known a description of the person or friend whom Gannon left with. But she doesn't know who he left with. And also, so why wasn't there a description put out of the person who Gannon was seen left with? Next paragraph. I explained to them and provided evidence. They had information about G having the key to go out to the side gate. Last, they have more in-depth details that go along with this, pointing to who sent the person or why he may have come. Okay, so she says, I explained to them and provided evidence. What did you explain and what evidence? I thought you had no evidence because he went to a friend's and he's gone, so what evidence could you have? Unless she's talking about the buzz and chatter, talking about some sort of text, but there's been no proof so far. They had information about G having the key to go out the side gate. Last, they have more in-depth details that go along with this, pointing to who sent the person or why he may have come. Pointing to who sent the person. So there was a person sent to their home to get Gannon and why he may have come. So now we know there's a male, or she knows there's a male. It could be one of two things, right? There's a male because she's saying he, so she's pretty confident in a statement about that. And the person who sent the person, she says, last, they have more in-depth details that go along with this, pointing to who sent the person or why he may have come. So there's been a visitor. And Gannon had the key to the side gate. Why would Gannon leave out the side gate? She says, again, I repeat, they have had this initially, and I was asked to keep quiet about it so they could have the best shot at doing their job and bringing G home. There's his name again. The last thing they needed was a hindrance to their investigation. But now she's worried about it. Now she's worried that there's a hindrance to the investigation. But for 16 days, she hasn't been worried at all. She's just kind of worried about her own safety and no mention of where could my stepson be. I encourage you to think of any suspicious cars that may have been in the area watching a few days prior and keep praying for G. All right, that's her statement. Now, she has in every single paragraph G or Gannon, every single one. In her other statements, it was all about her. What are people complaining about? It's all about her. So she needs to craft a statement that makes it all about Gannon, in my opinion. She's part of these crime groups, so she's gathering all the little tidbits that everybody, or internet sleuths, or web sleuths as she's calling them, and she's seeing what everybody is saying, and then she's bringing up stuff to back her butt up. In my opinion. Now, in all those paragraphs, the grammar is different than what she typically does. It has been cleaned up. I think she had the opportunity. Now, this is another important thing. She wanted the reporter to say it, not because she was fearful of her safety. I believe She wanted her to read that because then nobody could hear her inflections, nobody could see her face, and the reporter will read it neutral. That's what I believe. So she's checking all these things off the list. Okay, a woman talked to blood. I better talk about the blood on Saturday night. Okay, people are talking, I'm not talking about Gannon. I better talk about Gannon. Okay, people are talking about nobody searching. I better talk about nobody searching. Check mark. She has a method to her madness. She has been showing herself time and time again about how it's all about her and how she wants to clear things up. She thought that video with Gannon in it was gonna clear her name, but it made things worse for her. So now she has to make sure she looks like the good guy. And that written statement is proofread, it's checked over, it's glossed over, and so now nobody will analyze her behavior. Brilliant. Now who's your lawyer? I feel like since it's been really quiet from law enforcement, that there's a reason to it. And of course, but I feel like maybe part of it is to see what she's gonna do because it's uncomfortable for her. And we've seen this in other cases where when it gets quiet, they feel the need to speak. And so hopefully something comes from it. Now, could she be innocent? Yep, she could. She could. Could she be part of this? Yep, she could. Could she have done something? Yep, she could. So there's a variety of factors. But I think, in my opinion, from all these little statements, all these little interviews, I feel like there's little nuggets of information in there that's truth. And the smartest thing for her to do is release a written, proofread statement that makes sure Gannon's name is scattered all throughout. She talks about the blood. She talks about somebody else being there. She talks about another vehicle. She talks about another man. There could be another man and she could know who the man is. But there's lots of talk throughout that, right? There has been numerous people who have been found guilty that they almost cooperate in some sort of way with finding their victims. And I don't want to compare her to Ted Bundy because it's not, like, this is not what it's about. But there's some of them that actually get really close to the investigation so they know what's going on, right? And she's climbing all over the crime groups. So I'm just curious on where this is going to head. She can be innocent and she can be guilty. There's a lot of things that she's doing that doesn't add up. If your kid is sick, why are you not going to a doctor's if he's sick enough to stay home, or you're saying he's going to the doctor's? Where's the doctor's appointment? Why are you going to Petco 30 minutes away if he is sick? Because you said you went shopping. Well, what else are you shopping for? Where else did you go? You have 4-hour window to be held accountable for. So what'd you do? What'd you do in the 2 hours from Petco from 11 to 1? Then you come home and he's nowhere to be seen, but you're insinuating that he is on camera on the opposite side of the vehicle. Well, here's my problem with that. Why would law enforcement say this is the break we need? And why would Al break down crying saying she lied and he didn't go to a friend's house if there's video? Let me know your comments. Let me know what else you'd like for me to dive into this, because this could be an all-day event. Don't forget to subscribe, click the like button, click the share button. Thank you so much for watching. See you soon.